Imagine taking 10 powerful masculine traits and pairing them with 10 complementary opposite feminine traits. And when you put them into a dynamic synergy, you unleash and unlock what I call our untapped potential, and you maximize it. This is potential that, looking around the globe, looking around the world, you could say in every country and every culture has been polarized and suppressed in both men and women, and especially women and girls. So imagine holding in your hand a 1 minute digital evaluation tool that offers an instant transfer of knowledge. And as I say here, it offers an instant transfer of knowledge by shifting our focus from gender and labels, right and wrong, good and bad, villain and hero, to traits and trait balancing. For example, the risk taker being paired with a person who's risk adverse. In a corporation, might be the person who holds the bag, the money bag, is risk adverse for a very good reason. The person who wants to jump, maybe an Elon Musk, off into space, is taking risks that may not be acceptable. But in that tension, in any company, there is that dynamic, and it's not neither right nor wrong. It's just a situational. Imagine another one where someone wants to fight, and they're in a corporation and they're like, let's just go in and knock them out, take them out, because we want to be the winners. We want to win this, this contract. Versus the diplomat. You create this dynamic tension, this synergy between two complementary opposite traits. They're equally powerful. They're not his or hers, or not right or wrong. It's not smart or stupid. It's non-binary, it's non-dualistic. And it's when you bring them together, it's what can unite us, not pull us apart. So if you had that tool and you held it in your hand, and you'll experience it today in a few minutes, how would you use it? Does anybody have any ideas? If you could strengthen relationships, would that be important to you? In 1 minute, you shift your focus and look at the traits. Oh, it's not that she rolled her eyes or he took a deep sigh when I said something and I felt intimidated. It's more like, oh, that's the reason. I want to take a trip to Europe and I want to throw a backpack on and I want to just explore spontaneously, and she wants me to set, or he, whatever, wants me to set an itinerary. I want to know what hotel we're staying in, where we're going to eat for dinner. I like this kind of food. I don't like that kind of food. There's a gap, but it's also an incredible opportunity to throw conversations, throw engagement into that gap, which is missing from most relationships, and especially when we think of iGeneration, the iPhone generation growing up, where they can flip left, right, delete someone, unfriend someone without having a conversation when they discover there's a gap in a relationship. So imagine the power of discovering that and then having the tools, which we give on that digital tool, to resolve that conflict. In a sense, what we're doing in 1 minute is we are navigating conflict by showing you the real basis of it. And I say team curation, and I talk about decision making as well, because there's many studies out, and I won't go into today, I'm just touching the highlights. But with decision making, the idea of who makes the decision means a lot. So if you have a certain group of people who are consistently making decisions, you're going to get the same decision, like the same thinking day after day, because that's the way they go to decision making, with those same thoughts. You bring in a different value set, you bring in traits that bring in different types of values into the decision, and you create a stronger, more lasting decision, a better decision, because it's based on more variables time after time, and there's many studies on that. We've actually, in our paradigm, in our digital tool, we have a framework that allows you to select consistently, sustainably, and interchangeably diverse, inclusive, gender trait balanced decision-making teams that represent all sectors. That means government, business, stakeholders, animals, non-sentient beings, the trees, and brings out the best in everyone who's joining that. And the reason why it's important is that cliche almost of Albert Einstein saying, you can't solve the problems by using the same kind of thinking that created the problems. So if you think about it, who's making the decisions, how do you move to the future unless you're able to change that value set and put them into a balance? So again, you don't have matriarchy, you don't have patriarchy, you don't have, chaos, you get it in selected balance. And I'll show you what that structured framework looks like in a few minutes. So what I say, and we're patting ourselves on the back because we can at this moment, say I'm calling it the third wave of the human potential movement, because we're focusing on traits and trait balancing to unlock your full potential. And what this comes from is the fact, if you look at the 19th and early 20th century, maybe through the 50s, what happened with psychology, if you think of Jung and Freud and others, they were focusing on humans basically like a bag of symptoms. What's wrong with me? Why am I so anxious? Movies were made, people made millions of dollars capitalizing on, that anxiety, that negativity. And it became sort of the neurosis and the victimization, what Martin Seligman, who came later, would call learned helplessness. Something's wrong with me. I'm not capable. The human potential movement grew out of that because there was so much negativity that in 1943, Abraham Maslow created the hierarchy of needs. And how many people have heard of that or know of the hierarchy of needs? It's that self-actualization. It's that ladder that one rises through. Once your basic needs are satisfied, like think of the refugees and so on who have they need food, clothing, and shelter. That's the basics. But from that, we move to a pinnacle of self-actualization. The next, what I call the second wave, and you'll see the number up here, the second wave is basically it's positive psychology. It's that go with the flow state. Well, I can tell you that if you want to hold up your phone again, in 1 minute, you can actually enter a flow state by looking at this digital evaluation tool, because what it does is it mimics a walk in nature. And if you think about walking in nature, what are you doing? You are actually, especially if you're going to Chautauqua or any trail that's like not a man-made concrete or pavement, it's a trail made, in nature. You are going to be using and occupying your left brain to think about standing upright, not tripping, not falling, not stepping off the trail or tripping on a stick or a stone. That will occupy fully your left brain, and your right brain will be engaged in what it does really well, and that's holistic thinking. It's going to look at the sky, it's going to look at the trees, it's going to look at whatever's in your horizon and people approaching or leaving or animals or shadows or anything. That's part of our human survival strategy, is what is that difference? We see a shadow, we see a blade move. What's behind that? What made that move? I was once in Hawaii and I was camping illegally with my daughter, Hillary. We didn't really think we were camping illegally. It was a great spot on the beach. And suddenly we looked up and everybody was running to their cars. 6 a.m. in the morning, everybody's grabbing their gear and running. And so what do? Follow the herd. We grabbed our stuff because something we didn't know was happening, and we followed the groups. And we got up there, and somebody told us as we ran that the police come and they give tickets to people who are illegally camping on this beach on Kauai. And so just at that moment of getting into the car, my daughter said, "Mom, I have to go to the bathroom." It's like, oh my God. I think she was like 9 or 10. It's like, what are you going to do? So I said, okay, go into the restroom there, and I'll leave. And when I drive by, run out and jump in the car. This was now the getaway. So that's exactly what happened. I was cruising back and forth, and then I came past at like the third pass. She finally came out, and I just slowed enough, almost like running board, running beside me, jumping in. You're a runner, David, so and Mike is a famous marathon runner too, back in that corner. So he's running alongside the car and jumped in, and off we went. We went about a half mile down, and I turned in a dirt road, and we went to the beach just to calm down, settle down, because we weren't even awake yet. I mean, we did all this instinctively, just because we could. And all of a sudden, after a few minutes of talking, I looked up and I saw a tree, and I saw a brown piece of pant leg that obviously was not the tree or bark. And it's like what happens in nature when you see something that's out of order. There was a leg, a human leg, and the tree was here, and it's the person who owned that leg stepped out and was a police officer. He did not give us a ticket because he thought we were pretty clever. He was probably watching the whole thing, and he gave us, and he's done it before, and he gave us a warning. So out of that, out of that came that second wave to try and express your potential by being positive. This is the third wave, and this is what we're introducing today. It's that whole new paradigm shift. It's the way to navigate through conflict. And we're going to have an experience of that tool, and I'm going to actually do it online. I have it loaded up, and we'll do that in a few minutes. But if you think about this, these are traits, and what we do in 1 minute, people can have it as a handheld tool. I can actually take it, we can put it in classrooms, we can put it in office, like teachers' lounges or cubicles in the office. So when somebody has a conflict, they can log on, or if there's a firewall and they can't, they can take this 1 minute little tool that's a small thing and say, what's wrong with the person in the next cubicle or down the hall? And they can rate it, and then they can prepare themselves to go down and say, it's not that they're wrong, it's not that they're aggressive or a bully or too loud or, making insults. It's maybe, they don't know how to express themselves, so they use these different, they can pick from either side. It's neither right or wrong. It could be a strength in a certain circumstance, and conversations will close that gap. I noticed that whenever you do this, whenever I do this, you do that. Let's talk about it. And so those tools help close that gap. Here is this amazing new framework. And I will say, one of the things we've done with this, we actually took it and I met online a man Bob Bergman, who came out of Intel. He managed their decision-making at Fortune 50 companies for like 28 years. And what he found in here was they use something called analytical hierarchical processing, which is it's a decision-making process that slows people down to make decisions. Like in the Cold War, so it's like a 70-year-old tool. When leaders got together and sparks were flying, they learned how to use this decision-making structure to slow the process down to make sure all the decisions that were made were clear. But they used the same thinking, and they used the same people that they'd always used to make the same decisions, as Einstein would remind. This one is based on traits. So those are the kinds of things you can actually put it into a framework, and you'll get improved decision-making, improved productivity sustainably over and over and over again. So are you ready to try this digital tool? Yes. Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's do it.